No, don't. Like, just go and get an apprenticeship and make some money. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the next episode, the 49th episode of Get Your Deck Out. It's me, Old Emo Dave, freshly back from the start of the season, first RCQ of the season, to talk to you about Magic the Gathering 60 card and, well, just competitive formats. We're no dual commander haters here. We do enjoy a bit of dual commander. As usual, with me, Scott, Lenses MTG. Scott, Modern is alive and it's kicking. Well, straight back from the report, I can say. We have returned to normal order. Season first of the season. Good friend of the show, Ben Jones, just took it down. Don't know what else to report.
Just free. Yeah, but I mean, it's just living proof that for the first RCQ of the season, if Ben Jones is playing in the UK, you probably just shouldn't bother.
Well, I think lots of people are bothering. I've just come back from Full Fire in Gloucester, and as everyone knows, it's always one of the best shops to go to. Completely sold out as a shop today. Full room, full better. Like, I think I barely saw like a repeat of a deck maybe 3 times tops was what I was, your Boris Energies, there's a few, your Jeskai Blinks, there was a few, your Titans, there was a few.
But Dave, the Magic Online data says that 30% of the meta is Boris Energy and another 20% is Jeskai Blink, and we should ban 6 cards.
Absolutely not, because you know what? We saw maybe 1 Boris Energy in the top tables today, 1 Jeskai Blink, because it was so much Magic to play, so much things to play, and so much fun. Across the UK, we see you selling out. Live in Realms, we see you. You've just extended up to 40-odd people for the weekend, which was incredible. And yes, obviously, we've got our own coming up on the 25th of April in Cardiff, which, again, we're expecting to see all of you out here trying to fight for that coveted yellow Get Your Deck Out deck box, which Scott's got just above his head there. If you come out and you play with us there. Yeah, Modern's feeling great. Modern's feeling balanced. It was me, should we just say, putting the training wheels on, because, it's not been my format of choice, purely because I've always kind of like held up my hands and I'll do the standard nights. But Modern is good. Modern is fun. I went away with some prowess today and took a lot of lessons away. Not is it lessons, which we're going to see in standard across the next few weeks, but a lot of lessons in Modern. Demands a little bit more nuance in your gameplay, and is a lot less forgiving when you don't take that 1 to 2%.
Yeah, and that's the case with knowledge of the format. So knowing, my opponent played a Spy Master's Vault, that means that they're almost definitely playing Yawgmoth. The way that someone fetches, what Surveil land they get first, what decks play what lands, you get percentage points in that, and knowing what you're up against and how you need to sculpt your own game plan. You get points from knowing your own deck and knowing the ins and outs of when you should go for it, when you should hold back, what live draws you have against what decks, sideboard configurations and main deck configurations. Like, you can maybe, if you can push an extra Wrath of the Skies into your Jeskai Blink main board, for example, you might be markedly better against Affinity, that sort of thing, where standard at the minute especially is a skill testing format and it's a skill intensive format, but Modern has always been that format that rewards both format knowledge and deck knowledge quite heavily. And we were saying it last week that you can't just pick up Jeskai Blink and play it. You got more experience on prowess, so you played prowess today. Didn't work out fully for you. You ended up 2-3, which, I mean, that's a fine result. Like 40-something% win rate.
Yeah, my match win rate as well. Like
40% win rate, bang on, actually.
Yeah, 40% win rate. I didn't get swept in any of my sets. Yes, you got to take your learnings, right? So there's situations where you can be meta aware, but necessarily game aware is completely two different things. So you did a little bit of planning before the event. We had chats and sort of like looked at some configuration. I looked out there and shout out there's a little YouTuber, I say little, but he's got a few hundred subs, Ethan MTG, who just put out a video on it on the this deck. Fun little video, do really recommend it to sort of kind of give you a vibe what the deck is. And actually gave away a sideboard guide, which again, like you can debate all we want about sideboard guides, the usefulness, and like should people be charging?
They're always useful. That's the
Always
thing,
useful.
is they're always useful. And should you take them as gospel? Maybe not. Should you adjust your sideboard? Yes, almost always. Your meta, even your semi-local meta, won't be the same as everyone else's. It won't be the same as online. And yeah, to get those extra percentage points, you need to adjust. But if you can see the way that people are sideboarding, and especially when they talk about why they sideboard in certain ways. So, like, for example, with my surveillance deck, I've got 2 Kappa Cannoneer in the sideboard, which is actually quite a weird place to put them. Normally, you're an all-in Kappa Cannoneer deck or not. But from doing a lot of testing against Boros, we found that it just can't beat a Kappa Cannoneer. And the way the games were going was I wanted to always draw Urza Saga because Boros has to try really hard to stop you comboing. And they can do that, but then you win with the constructs. But then their most important card is Goblin Bombardment. So again, maybe counterintuitively, I sideboard Force of Negation in against Boros because it catches Goblin Bombardment and Wrath of the Skies. Is it sometimes dead in my hand? Yeah, it is. But for the times when it's good, we found it increased my win rate and it changed the shape of the games meaningfully. Where after all of that of losing game after game after game after game, I played against Boros on Thursday at a weekly modern and I ended up winning that match. So it's not something that happened in our testing very much. So that's a case of learning the matchup. That one specifically is quite an important one for anyone who wants to look at playing modern now with any deck, even if that is Boros. You need to know how to play against Boros. You need to know how to play against Jeskai, Amulet Titan, all the most popular decks with the highest win rate, because these are going to show up at RCQs. Do you necessarily need to know the ins and outs of how to play against Yawgmoth? Probably not. But if you know there's 2 Yawgmoth players locally, learn that matchup. Speak to that player and figure out how they lose those games, because it's not even a case of you winning. It's a case of stopping them winning sometimes,
Yes.
especially with modern when it is so combo centric and some of the interactions between cards is so powerful. Sometimes all you need to do is break up those interactions. It's why Doorkeeper Thrall is good in modern. It's why Domain Zoo with Thrall is good. And yeah, you can scam Flages, you can scam Null Drifters if you're playing Dress Down, that sort of thing. You can do these things, but it's not just, they're not just playing Dress Down because it means you can evoke things and like scam Flages onto the board. It's because it stops Amulet Titan functioning, it kills constructs, it removes ward from Kappa Cannoneer. All of these things that have relevant impacts, and that's how you want to build your decks, where they can do their own really powerful, really busted thing, but you can also stop your opponents from doing that busted thing. In some cases, that might just be go quicker than them. Like in Ruby Storm's example, it is literally just combo before they can do their combo. But with Prowess in particular, how many Spell Pierce do you play? Do you play a Mystical Dispute? Do you play Force Negation? Like all of these sorts of questions, it is literally just format dependent and matchup dependent, and you need the experience with the deck to know which you can support and which is right for any given moment.
Yeah, game state, game planning. My big lessons today was I'd seen Into the Floodmoor and a few sideboards, and I had not really questioned the how, the what, the why. I know what Into the Floodmoor does. After the reps of today, my appreciation is that you don't want to sideboard out Corey Steelcutters just in case they high new. You've got a bit of a game plan to almost like sit back in a control-y state, like lightning bolting their creatures off and digging through your deck with Preordain. You get your payoff of Murktide when you get there, but you also need the ability to potentially have the release valve on that one Into the Floodmoor. I can imagine there's like like is the almost like the perfect number to like dig to eventually to be able to then have that turn?
With 4 Preordain and 4 Expressive Iteration and 4 Mishra's Bauble along with fetches as well, you normally end up seeing a lot of your deck in a lot of games.
Mhm.
So with that one in particular, like you're saying, I just want 1 into the Flogmore in my sideboard. For other decks, it might be 2. If you needed that same sort of catch-all answer for example, for a High Noon, I'm talking theoretically here. There's not a deck that does this, but if you've got less like digging power almost, you're not playing Preordain, you're not playing Expressive Iteration, you might need sideboard more copies of a given card in.
Mhm. And it's very clear that you need to deal with Flage, so having your surgicals there, but then I say one of Floodmore because in another ideal world, Spell Pierce is handy for certain matchups, but also if you can hold it up on turn 2, then you're going to stop the High Noon as well. So you've definitely got like that elements to consider. Very backbreaking if it goes down and you've got sort of 2 High Noons, but posted up over on the Instagram, sort of it wasn't the best day for me in some of my clutch moments, where in like the top 14 cards of a mull to 5, I saw a total of 11 lands, which includes my fetches. You're just going to have those. I only play like 18 lands in total, including the
Yeah, it's
fetches.
just shit happens.
Yeah, so definitely good to be out there, and definitely good to like get some reps in because the format's thriving. Players are happy, like players are enjoying it. Um, Players are also saying that they're missing standard, which like I find interesting because there was a point in time in the not so distant past where people were like, oh, I've got to play standard, but it was nice to hear. And obviously, with a new set coming out now with Strixhaven, we've got the Spotlight series in London coming up. Obviously, if you don't know about that and you have been living under a rock, that is coming up now at the start of May, where there'll be massive prizes on the line for the standard format in London.
We will be
And
there as well.
we
We will be
we
there. We will be playing the main event.
we'll be there. We'll be playing the main event. We'll be hanging out, talking to some people podcast wise on the Friday. We'll be probably dropping a few news at night, dropping a few messages about that, about like who we're speaking to and where you can find us over the next coming weeks. So don't stay too far from our social channels for that. But what that means is it's time to start prepping for what are the decks going to look like in the new meta. Now, so we've had a few of the past, present, and future in relation to pros on the channel recently. And if we've learned anything, you got to start thinking very, very soon about if you're going to play a tournament 4 weeks today, or at least be in a finals of a tournament 4 weeks today, like getting through the field yesterday. You got to start thinking about the decks, what's available, and what the meta is going to look like. We thought in this episode we're going to do something that we don't usually do. We're going to be taking a bit of a deep dive into Strixhaven and some of the cards we think are going to be impactful in standard coming up. We're not theory crafting decks review. What we're just sort of doing is taking stuff that is going to definitely support current archetypes and stuff that's definitely going to be strong considering what's available in the pool. If you want to talk decks, come join us on Discord. Come join us in the areas there where we're definitely going to be going all in on this. And we want to hear from more of you a part of the community and more of you who are going so that we can all start kind of like getting a real good vibe. Like, are we all going together to get our deck out and win this thing? Strixhaven, as it arrives, there's some key things to look at. There's a few new mechanics. We touch on those quickly. We've seen Prepare. Like, I think it's the highlight, the thing that's bringing back all of these cool spells
It's
of
the
yesteryear.
most. It feels like the most represented thing in the set, right? Where it's going to have the most sort of widespread vision on it, because not just because of the Emeritus's, where we can cast Ancestral Recall and Standard now, but also even just some of the uncommons, maybe some of the rares, which are some of them at pretty decent rates, where that recurrent value and that instant value for the ones that enter prepared, they're the ones that are more exciting, because even to this day in standard, you can't play a creature that doesn't have an instant impact. It needs to have, if it doesn't have an instant impact, it needs to have a really big impact, which is why I think a lot of people are excited about the blue Emeritus, the one that casts Ancestral Recall, but 5 mana is a lot of mana to pay for it. So can you cheat it out in some way? I think that's more possible in modern. I don't know if Grixis Reanimator ends up playing one or two of them just because you can persist it and then cast Ancestral Recall, and that's just pretty good. It's another thing to persist along with Archon and Oculus that's not bad. But yeah, it's more that it's not a trigger, so it can't be messed with. It's just when it enters prepared, and then you have priority because nothing's gone on the stack. So then, even if it's a sorcery, you can just cast the prepared spell.
Yeah, I've seen some people mention that like the best way to evaluate these is if for the total value of the card, you would be okay with the outcome of the spell half and the opponent be forced to use removal on it, would you be okay with the outcome? So, like for an example, you've got the card that's the one that has got reanimate staple to it. Would you be okay with a 4 mana? They've used a removal spell for you to then reanimate something on that same like value and rate, which is not necessarily, I'm not saying it's busted, but like you kind of the ceiling versus floor is that card's not going to be too bad in a deck where you've built that strategy, but
But
is that strategy
again,
existing?
though, it doesn't enter prepared. You don't get reanimate until the turn after. So the one you're talking about is Grave Researcher. So 2 and a black, 3/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, Seville 1. Then if there are 3 or more creatures in your graveyard, this creature becomes prepared, and the prepared spell is Reanimate.
Yeah, so that's an example of like that card's value goes right down because you've got a dodge removal.
Yeah,
Whereas
you
like
play it, they kill it. You've just played a 3-drop and they've killed it with a 1 mana spell. You're just behind.
whereas we've got one of the cards that we're going to talk about in a bit, which actually enters prepared and ultimately in response, like in any element of okay, something's about to happen from your opponent, like you can still maybe then cash in on what the other side is, and that's sort of what I think is we not yet necessarily seen. Because to be fair, it's like I say, new mechanic, new way of playing. Like I'm sure there's going to be people who are going to do great things with it, but it's the highlight mechanic. There's a couple more. I see there is increment, and I think I've sort of like looked at this and felt it feels a little bit like evolve.
Yeah, it's evolve, but it cares about the CMC of the spells you're casting, not the size of creatures entering. But I mean, there's a lot of +1/+1 counter stuff in TMNT.
Yeah, so there's definitely like that's definitely not going to have a possible impact, but I think
I'm sure there's something there because isn't there? There's a
there's a
there's a
super
hardened scales
shredders thing.
creature for like
Yeah,
there's a hardened scales creature for like 2 or 3 mana or something as well, and there's all the there was a bunch of +1/+1 counter stuff in like Edge of Eternities as well. There's the hardened scales that you can warp.
hmm
So I mean, warping it, you're casting a 3-drop. So maybe there's something there. You get the 1 trigger, it enters the battlefield, you cast another spell, it gets 2 counters. That's 3 +1/+1 counters on your increment thing. If it's a thing that draws you cards when you put counters on it, then yeah, cool. Like maybe there's something there.
yeah, and then the other mechanics, the newer ones, I kind of like bracket them into the three draft mechanics. So that's infusion, opus, and repartee. So infusion is if you've gained life, gain +1/+1 counters. We've always see that kind of stuff in relation to if something left the graveyard, it gets counters,
Yeah,
stuff like
that is very much linked to like how many ways you've got to just like incidentally gain a little bit of life. For that to see playing constructed, you need something like Dredge's Insight, where you can get life like quite easily off that. Like if you tap a Malt Tender with a Dredge's Insight in play, you gain a life, add a mana, play a thing that cares about you having gained life, that sort of thing.
you've got opus, which sort of harks back to things like threshold, like it's the whole like do something, get 3+0, but if you do it a few times, you get some +1/+1 counters as
It's
well.
not. It cares about the mana spent, so it's like the Final Fantasy mechanic
Right.
that cared about CMC 4 or greater spells being cast. For this, I think it's just instant or sorcery,
Yeah,
although
with
it
five,
might
five
have
mana or more.
different. Yeah, and then 5 mana or more. So I mean, some of these are literally just prowess.
Mhm.
So don't look at it and think, oh, I have to be casting big spells. it's if you cast a big spell, you get a bonus, but for some of them, it is literally just like prowess, put a 1/1 counter on it.
Yeah, and then repartee is interesting if we potentially see any kind of like heroic style decks, because whenever you cast an instant sorcery, you get a +1/+1 counter. And then when that dies, the counters move, which
I don't
is
know if that's always the case.
when this creature dies, if it had counters on it, put counters onto up to one target creature
Case for all of them?
for the repartees.
Let me. Oh, I've done the wrong Scryfall syntax.
Have I Skyfalled too much of the line?
I think you may have. You have repartee is just when you cast an instant or sorcery that targets a creature, do a thing.
Well,
The when it dies, move the counters. That's specifically Scolding Administrator.
I think that's not the worst card in the world, but at the
Yeah,
same time,
it's purely a Silver Quill thing, so black white, and there are some pretty powerful ways to target things for cheap. Like you've got the like white, put a 1/1 counter on something, draw a card, or maybe gain some life, something like that. You've got certain reprints in the set that we may end up talking about that are really good at triggering it. My apprehension with it is it doesn't trigger off of auras, and the best things to be doing right now in standard that involve targeting your own things is the blue-white auras deck,
yeah.
because you've got the 1-mana Shard Mage's Rescue, which is the 1-mana one that gives hexproof, and Shelter by Ghosts, which hasn't seen a lot of play recently, but it is still a really, really powerful card. They don't trigger this, which is my apprehension with it. I think it's the kind of thing where you need to go really hard on it as well, but I don't know if that one's there. The one you haven't mentioned is possibly the most fun one of Paradigm.
Well, I was going to move on to that because it kind of, although it seems like it's fun, it's probably more like going to be something that's going to get resolved in like a MTG Magnificent Combos video or something like that. But
I don't know, the red one seems okay. Like if you just like ramp up and play the red one, because so it's based on Omen.
Yes,
is from long before you started playing the game.
The epic spells I hear.
Epic. Yeah. Sorry, Omen is the adventure type one. Epic. I said the wrong word. I apologize. And I'm on a podcast, and people are going to lambast me for that. With Epic, you cast the spell once a turn, and then you can't cast any other spells. So normally, you ended up with like an Enduring Ideal enchantment control deck, essentially. With this, you can cast other spells. So if you ramp into the red one is legitimately like quite powerful. And there was the
it's a lesson as well, right?
Yeah, it's being a lesson kind of matters slightly less, because you want to be flipping cards with total mana value 4 all the time. But if you're playing like Badger Mole Cub and another 2-mana ramp spell, and then you've got like Explosive Vegetation. So you go turn 2 Badger Mole Cub, turn 3 your Explosive Vegetation card, so 4 mana, add 2 additional lands. You can then cast this on turn 4, flip a 4-drop, and then every turn you're flipping 4-drops, and there's only so bad that can really go. The green one needs a board state, which is less good. The blue one needs a board state, which is less good. The black one loses you life, so that one's quite dangerous. And the white one, you need stuff in your graveyard, so like ramping into it, and it's only permanent. So ramping into that one is less good. But ramping into the red one, or the green one, but more so the red one, isn't bad. And like if people are as old as I am and they remember the old Pyromancer's Goggles ramp deck that Brad Nelson quite famously played very, very well, how much of that was down to Dragon Lord Ataka and the fact that Pyromancer's Goggles is messed up with Magmatic Insight? Probably a fair whack of it. But it's not like we've not got good things to ramp into in Standard. So we've got the what's the green sorcery for 2 mana that finds a forest? It's not Into the Core.
Oh,
You know the one I mean.
the one from Avatar.
Possibly. It's like 2 1 and a green sorcery, search your library for a basic forest, put it on the battlefield. Like, if you're doing all this...
Put in the comments. We're not going to search halfway through the episode.
But if you're doing all of this type of stuff, you could ramp into this card and have it be reasonable.
Yeah. No, I see it.
It doesn't... None of it like goes into existing decks. That's the thing.
And that's the thing. It doesn't scream like, oh, this is what it's going to be. But I think the great thing about this set in a nutshell is, well, I don't even know if it's a possibly, because Lauren was a good set, but I think this is a stronger set as far as what's in it.
I think the power level's flatter, but the spikes are smaller. I don't think there's... Like the Evoke Elementals, all of the Evoke Elementals, apart from Catharsis, were exciting.
And they're all playable across all formats now.
Yeah, it's worked out that like Emptiness is kind of barely played. I think that's more because of how bad Black-White is. Deceit's obviously extremely good. Wistfulness has seen play all over the place. And Vibrance, mostly in Elementals decks specifically, but Tutoring for a Land, being a Kavu, is not the worst thing in the world. I don't know if there's any cards in this set that are as exciting and as impressive as that. But there's a lot that are like a little bit exciting, if that makes sense. Like
stuff that will facilitate. It's going to facilitate decks rather than necessarily make new decks.
One of our honorable mentions that we're not going to talk about that deeply was Erode, which is Path to Exile, but it's Destroy instead of Exile, and it can hit Planeswalkers. I know Path isn't that playable in Modern at the minute, but we do have Wan Shi Tong in Standard. You can play Wan Shi Tong, you can play Magmatic Hellkite, you can play Price of Freedom, you can play Demolition Field. So whether that's a thing or not, that's probably where I'm going to look first, just because I like Wan Shi Tong and I like Magmatic Hellkite. I think Boros Dragons being able to play good blue cards as well, so you get Quantum Riddler, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
that's pretty exciting.
So let's start there. Let's start around sort of the potential. We've all seen Momo decks as they get referenced, but we've also seen them be referenced as Blink decks. And I think that for a deck that's kind of come late in the format, which has sort of done sort of not necessarily the top tier things, but has done like disruptive things, and everyone's like sort of picking a lane. We've seen, Momo White as it's referenced do really well. We've also seen, especially like locally, we saw a couple of Jeskai Blink decks with RCQs, and there's definitely a potential for a deck build around. And we've got like sort of like 2 cards specifically, and like a third annual mention in the white and blue. So and Daydream being the effectively cheaper Blink outlet now.
This is the most exciting card from the set for me personally, because I always really like Splash Portal, and Splash Portal with Thundertrap Trainer is obviously good because you draw the extra card and you get the ETB of Thundertrap Trainer, but Splash Portaling a Quantum Riddler's just good.
Mm-hmm.
So getting copies 5 through 8 of specifically a 1-mana Blink effect, which is way more exciting than 2 mana, because you've got, is it Go Ninja Go?
Yeah, so Go Ninja Go is the one that's,
TMNT.
it's very conditional on the fact that you can do it's red and a white, which obviously makes it even it's 100% harder to cast, but also needs 2 colors. So yeah, the upside of Go Ninjas Go is you get a bit of removal, but as we just mentioned, the little bit of removal that you might need, you got a road. Like a road will do. Like
just flicker your Quantum Riddler and draw more cards than your opponent, then you don't need removal, right?
Yeah, and this card helps keep that sort of these decks, and whether they end up Jeskais or or they also keeps them like sort of leading into the flyers. So having the flyers, like you say, the Magmatic Hellkite flyer. So on some rates, it's just a cheaper card.
Sometimes you just like go turn 1 Momo, turn 2 Quantum Riddler, Daydream it, turn 3 Magmatic Hellkite. Your opponent just dies.
Yeah, they just get value towned out of the whole element.
The mana is like squiffy, in some ways, but we have shell clans, we have verges. The red-white verge and the blue-white verge both tap for white on the front half, so they all cast Momo, Daydream, and Erode. So, yeah.
Sounds quite there. And I added a card to this list to sort of think that there's a potential of like pairing, and this is one of those cards. So for those of you who are sort of like thinking about prepping decks, and as you listen to some of the testing chats that we had, I guess specifically the one we had with Myra, is you need to just ask the question, and the question which we will be looking to ask testing wise is Sky Coach Conductor worth playing? And we could discuss this for like 15-20 minutes, and I think
Yeah, easy.
Our answer is going to be we're not sure. We'll play with it and let you know later.
Yeah, so this is the 3-mana. It's a 3-mana flyer that prepares and you can cast all aboard, which is an instant speed flicker.
Everything bar itself.
Yeah, of anything bar itself, but it can't re-prepare. Now, the exciting thing about this card is it's a bird. So Splash Portal on it will draw you a card. It resets the instant speed flicker. Is that very dangerous if your opponent has a removal spell? Yes. But it's at least a fail case for Splash Portal to just be a cantrip and replace itself. And 3-mana 2/3 Flash Flying Vigilance, that's a lot of text. And if you're casting it for 2 mana with Momo, and then even if they kill your Momo, you go untap Quantum Riddler all aboard it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Okay, cool.
We got hell of it. We got hell of a good counter spell in 3 Steps Ahead still sitting in the format, which, you know, the idea of sitting on a combination of 2 blue and 2 white and any other mana on turn 3, and then just the worst case is that you're going to flash in a 2/3 with Vigilance, so they might remove.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
whatever.
It's better than Restoration Angel, I would argue.
Oh, absolutely. We definitely, definitely argue that.
Restoration Angel is a good card. I know Salvation Swan was printed in Bloomburrow, which is essentially that, but it didn't see any play because it can't flicker flyers. And the best thing to flicker was like Spyglass Siren or Quantum Riddler, and you couldn't flicker either of them. The only apprehension with Splash Portal and Daydream is they're both sorceries, whereas the flicker on this is instant speed. Instant speed flicker acting as protection. It's one of the hidden modes on Restoration Angel. I know if a new player is looking at Restoration Angel now, they might go, oh my God, this is so unplayable. It's so expensive. Back in the day, that card was a fucking menace.
Yeah.
And
I'll put them for comparison on the screen now so people can see. And like ultimately, yeah, we probably
this is good. This is a good card.
Yeah, this might be one of those great examples of this could be a tour and a tour, and then probably really arguably the thing that you're sideboarding out in certain matchups. Like you might want to like replace Aven interrupters in here because again, it's a flyer, it does the interrupt thing.
It's like not a pilot.
Yeah, so you've got stuff to consider. In relation to sort of sidelining these decks, obviously there has been a really powerful 3-drop printed as well. In respect of there's lots going on, but we just don't know yet. And that is the one Emeritus card, the Emeritus of Truth.
We're going to have a fun conversation about this card, Dave, because you're way more excited about it than I am.
Well, I just think build a good deck here, and you've got something good on rate. But
ETB on the stack, kill it.
Yeah, but
this is one of the few cards where it enters prepared, but your opponent can respond to it before you get the prepared spell, which in this case is Swords to Plowshares.
Because of the creative a 1/1 white and black England token, I see.
Because it's got an ETB, and it becoming prepared is conditional within its ETB. It's not this creature enters prepared. It's when this creature enters, do a thing, then if condition is met, it becomes prepared. So it is different, very different, in fact, to it just enters prepared.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's conditional as well. I think, obviously, when we see Swords to Plowshares written on a card, we need to take notice because that is a really powerful effect. And I think there is a world where we could see this card seeing some play. But I think in terms of the role it plays, where it is ostensibly kind of a slower mid-rangey or control card, because you want your opponent to have more creatures than you. Your opponent needs to have one creature when you play this, because then you give them a token, and then this thing becomes prepared. You source the plowshares, the big thing, and then they're left with a 1/1 flyer. Two things scare me with that. Number one, they respond to the ETB and kill it, and then you've just given them a 1/1 flyer. Number two is Kaito is still a really powerful magic card, so giving my opponent a 1/1 flyer is a little scary.
I see. Yeah, you're right.
At rotation, this one might be more relevant, but right now I think I'd rather just play Beza.
Yeah, that is true. And thinking
Because
about
flickering Beza's no fucking joke either.
yeah, thinking about where, like, again, like we just talked about the Blink Dex elements. Beza's probably quite an underplayed card at the moment. But if you're doing that sort of strategy, and you may be playing the Ashlyn Elemental. Oh no, it's only a 4 mana, so you can't ramp up there. But I still think this is
Do you know what is more than 4 mana?
Quantum Middler, and also the other Emerus.
Now you're using your thinking brain.
So yes, this is just an interesting one. I still think it's like relatively good on rate, but it's a good example of evaluate the cards properly. Like there's loads of power here and there's loads of potential, but in the majority of cases, if you're playing this into anything, any kind of open mana, you're like losing this creature and losing the effect, and you could have been doing something a lot more proactive. But yeah, interesting times. Definitely something we'll be giving a go. I think is a Jeskai Momo, Jeskai Blink, Jeskai Flyer, whatever it ends up being called. Let us know in the comments with what you've got, and also like let us see some deck lists, because obviously we'll happily shout them out and we'll give them a play. But one other thing that's already established is the fact that it is a really fucking great format, a really great archetype to play in any shape or form. We've got lessons, we've got elementals, we've got prowess, and I don't think the train is stopping anytime soon. There's been a couple of really good upgrades for adjacent decks. Before looking at some specific cards, obviously I'd love to just give a minor sort of throwback shout out to, we've got Ancestral Anger back. I think that's a really useful undervalued card. If you are chaining off spells, you can also target your opponent's creatures in a pinch to draw cards. Like, I think I like that card. May not have major impact.
Thank fuck they banned Corey Steelcutter and Vivi.
Absolutely, because looking at the three total, like we'll look at all three of them together in a list here. One which I think I was so excited for in the show notes, I like literally copy and pasted it 3 times to Scott. Was Flashback. I guess it's what you were going to be intended to do with the spells is cast a spell, flash it back, and then cast it again.
Look how they've massacred my boy Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah, like this is just a good spell. Where it's going to get played right now, we could see it in prowess, we could see it in elementals, we could see it in lessons, but where?
Elementals doesn't play it. They don't play enough instant sorceries. I don't think lessons plays it because this is more of a like go quick die sick or combo card. And I think I've seen some people online get real upset about it, but I don't think it's that powerful. I think it's sometimes we might see a couple, but if you draw your Lightning Strike, Lightning Bolt in certain formats, and then you go Flashback Lightning Bolt, that's fine. But Snapcaster Mage is better than this, and Snapcaster Mage is unplayable.
Yeah, because even if I had 3 mana open in, say, Modern, I'd have to Lightning Bolt, Flashback, Lightning Bolt. Like, unless I've also got a Monastery Swift Spear out, I don't really want to do flashback, 3 mana for 6 damage.
The Flashback could just be another Lightning Bolt.
Yeah.
Where the point of why Snapcaster Mage is good is it leaves behind a 2/1 body. And it's a wizard, so it turns on Flame of Anor and stuff like that. the 2/1 body, the reason why Snapcaster Mage is unplayable now isn't because the effect is bad, it's because the 2/1 body is irrelevant. And this doesn't have a body. And yeah, it costs 1 less mana. You could argue it's probably in a worse color unless you're exactly Prowess. But Prowess's problem isn't casting enough spells, it's having enough card flow. So if you're like, oh, you could flash back an expressive iteration, it's like, cool, but then surely just play like one of the better draw spells. Charter Course is a powerful magic card. It's not seeing any play. Like, you could get more card flow from other sources without spending an extra 1 mana on anything you want to do, and it's susceptible to graveyard hate, it's susceptible to not drawing the card that you want to flashback. So it's an interesting card. I'm surprised they printed it in its current form at 1 mana, but I would be hesitant to say it's busted.
Because I sort of looked at this and went, right, so what have I got in Prowess? I've got 4 Sleight of Hand, I got 4 Opt. So great, I can put these in to be able to cast more Sleight of Hand and more Opt. But then, like, what am I taking out? Like, because I don't really want to take any of the spells out instead. So, yeah,
I think
definitely a lot of hype.
You're better off playing like a Slick sequence, which is blue-red instant deal 2, and then if it's the second spell, draw a card. You're just better off playing that if you want like some trinkety little effect with an extra card stapled to it, which is in Prowess essentially an extra spell. Like, the reason why you're playing this is it's red for an extra spell, and it's 2 spells rolled into 1. But Prowess doesn't get where it is by casting a critical mass of spells in 1 turn. It's not Storm. It's the fact that you can consistently cast 2 to 3 spells every turn because of the power of the cantrips, where you're just going cantrip, removal spell, hit you for 4, play another thing, go, and then you go cantrip, removal spell, hit you for 8, and you can just maintain that card flow. If you're trying to weave flashback into that, it'll be really good when your deck's doing everything it wants to. But in the fail cases where you have a bit of a disjointed draw, you have an awkward draw, you draw too many creatures, or you don't draw any threats, it doesn't fix any of those problems.
Yeah, can see that and agree. It's just be interesting to see what the storm mages in Modern do.
Yeah, that would be where I think it might end up doing something a bit odd, where potentially that's quite good for Storm, but like, they already play Past in Flames and they don't play 4.
Exactly. I'd defer to someone like an Alex Gordon Bones view on stuff like this and be like,
yeah, they're gonna know way better than we do.
Yeah, I still go, if I'm ever going to play anywhere, it's going to be in Storm, but it's there. But I tell you what, though, we staying on Izzet's train, they did definitely have 2 cards to consider in the slot. I guess let's call it the abandoned attachment slot is probably the place. I'm not sure, because obviously lessons needs lessons, so I'm not sure, even though these are powerful cards, would they be actually swaps in any shape or form. But you got obviously elementals where 2 cards, basically we both...
Yeah, these are more like Prowess Spelementals type cards where they can play anything in the Izzet sphere, as opposed to lessons, which is like pretty self-defined.
Exactly. So we've got Traumatic Critique, whereas Traumatic Critique deals X damage to any target, draw 2 cards, and discard a card. That's for a cost of 1 blue, 1 red, and X.
And it's an instant. That's the most important thing, is it's an instant, and the fail case is you go X is 0, pay blue, red, draw 2, discard.
And then we've also got Vibrant Outburst, which is, again, blue and red, deal 3 damage to any target, tap up to 1 target creature. Both got different agencies and similar outbursts. I think where Elementals is concerned, the moment you can get your hand on Traumatic Critiques, Elementals is basically playing 2 attachments. This is better.
Spelementals absolutely loves Traumatic Critique, because drawing then discarding is better than discarding then drawing, because you get to see more cards. Yeah. And unless you're doing exactly something like discard Sneaky Snacker and Pauper, which is why Terror decks play abandoned attachments. You discard the snacker first, then you draw the card, so the snacker sees the third card drawn. That specifically makes that better than, say, Careful Study or Faithless Looting in that environment. But with Critique in Standard, it's a mana sink, which is really nice. Even if you just do X's 4 at the end of your opponent's turn, you go kill your Badgemole Cub, draw 2, discard a card. I've put 2 extra spells into my graveyard, untap, play a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, definitely feels good. Definitely feels like an instant upgrade. One of these ones, though, again, testing on numbers, like probably 2. Could it be more because of the extra?
You could
the extra
squeak
agency?
3. You could squeak 3 because I think they already play like 3 or 4 abandoned attachments, and as you said, I think this is literally just better than that for that deck.
Yeah, absolutely.
More rare wild cards on Arena, everyone! Woo!
Yeah, no, the Vibrant Outburst though, nice little uncommon there, which might actually see some play on that element.
It's more, yeah. I sent Vibrant Outburst into our little pile of cards that we wanted to talk about. It's a Lightning Strike with upside, and yeah, it's harder to cast than Lightning Strike, but copies 5/8 of Lightning Strike in a color that's not red white. I've looked at aggressive blue red prowess decks where instead of playing the current builds, you go closer to mono red. You play like Razorkin, Needlehead, that sort of thing, Emberheart Challenger. The fact that you can attack with your Emberheart Challenger, cast Vibrant Outburst, kill their blocker, and tap your Emberheart Challenger that's already attacking and get a Valiant trigger, that's pretty sick.
That feels good. That definitely feels, because it's not your opponent, it's your own.
Just
so
tap up to 1 target creature, so you can target your own guy. If it's already attacking, tapping it doesn't matter. Get that trigger. That's niche, but from when we were testing mono red and when I was testing mono red with my partner, Emberheart Challenger is like the best card in that deck.
Yeah, and you can get moments where like you seem to be what's the word, committing to damage and not leaving blockers back, and they then try and get cute with like not like blocking, and you could actually do something like this to untap your blocker.
It's a little bit like Electrolyze, where they have 2 attackers. You go attack with my guy, they go, oh well, I won't block because I can then hit them back for more damage, and they go, have my 2 guys ready to go, and you go, cool, kill one, tap the other one, untap, slam in for more damage because their guy doesn't untap at the end of their turn. Yeah, it's almost like an Electrolyze or like a twin shot where you're dealing with 2 things. And yeah, tapping a thing doesn't deal with it permanently, but dealing 3 damage kills a lot, and it kills normally up to like most 3 drops. So being able to say they play a 3-drop and say go, and you go, cool, kill your 3-drop, tap your 2-drop, untap, attack him for more damage. That's a pretty powerful little sequence that you can do.
Yeah, exactly. These are all great starters to 10. Like obviously all the cards are finally spoiled on Friday. We've had a little bit of a review ourselves and sort of like making that first level consideration. I wonder what obviously you're all doing at home in relation to the upcoming standard tournament in London. Are you like thinking about, oh, I'm just going to just build the best thing that I can based upon what I'm seeing? Or are you mainly just thinking about trying to like build up on the stuff that you already have from the last season? If you are considering new, I think something that, because we both had an additional card left over, almost as like our wild card of this might start enabling decks. We'll start with mine, and I picked up the Planeswalker, and Planeswalkers never usually get a lot of love. So the Professor Dalian Fell. What I love about this, and you look at other cards in the set, and you look at other cards around this, I don't think you can ever discount a Planeswalker like an ultimate on his second tick. Effectively, you can build around potentially getting this off, and that is something that you can't ignore. And like, look at literally everything you can do, everything for the numbers. You're more than happy to do. We've been playing enchantments for like 3-4 mana, where you would just be playing enchantment, destroy target creature on one of the saga triggers. You can gain 3 life, which could potentially enable something based upon your initial creatures. You can just draw a card, lose life.
Yeah, it's a way to gain life without doing anything that costs mana, right? And all of these cards that care about if you gain life this turn do X. Like there's the 1 black sorcery, all creatures get -2/-2. If you gain life this turn instead, it's damnation. So you go play this guy on turn 4, -3, destroy target creature. They attack it with their 1/1 that's left, and then play a 4-drop, and you go untap, gain 3 life. It ticks up to 3. Then you Wrath, and then they play another creature. You're in black-green, so you like kill spell it, draw a card, lose a life, and then you can just literally Phyrexian Arena for the rest of the game. Or if you don't want a Phyrexian Arena anymore, say your life total's getting low, you take it up and gain life, and
Yeah.
then you have other random stuff in your graveyard that gains you like incremental small bits of life. If you emblem it, you're just going to be dealing a lot of damage to them very quickly. It is the most Golgari card I've ever seen,
For sure.
where it's a 4-mana Planeswalker and it's a Phyrexian Arena or a removal spell, or like incrementally wins you the game. So if anyone is a Golgari gamer out there, or a Jund gamer from back in the day in Modern, this is your kind of card. It's like a Vraska from a couple of years ago, where a lot of those were pretty good and pretty playable, and they all were similar to this. Like Vraska Relic Seeker was really good in its day, and that was more expensive than this. So I wouldn't be surprised.
This sits in my you'd have to find a deck pile. I don't
Oh
even.
yeah, you have to build around it. It doesn't sit in any existing deck. It's black-green life gain. Do you use pests? Probably not. But it's a powerful card, and it's worth exploring and looking at as a minimum.
Interestingly, in the place we no longer talk of, the Pioneer Streets, Claudio MTG just recently won with Selesnya life gain with a little bit of splash of black, I guess. So it was an Abzan life gain, almost like Amalia without the Amalia. It was effectively have so many life gain creatures on the board that you just basically swarm to a point that you'll be able to then sneak in the Leonardo that also gains +1/+1 for every life that's gained.
The
So
Ajani's Pride Mate one. Yeah.
So essentially, yeah, you've got like 18 life gain triggers
Yeah,
go off.
we've got stuff like Virulent Emissary from Lorwyn, which is a Soul Sister, but it's a 1/1 Death Toucher. Like that card's just pretty good.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it. And you also picked up a draw swell. It's almost like a thirst.
It's a tormenting voice, right? It's Pursue the Past. So red white sorcery, gain 2. You may discard a card if you do. Draw 2 cards. Flashback 2 red white. Worse if you're copying it, because it's not discard as an additional cost, but it has flashback. It reminds me a little bit of Faithful Mending, where that was draw 2, discard 2, and flashback for 3 mana, whereas this is discard, draw 2. So it's a very good tormenting voice. That's all I'm going to say. And having flashback is relevant. If you need a tormenting voice style effect, this is probably going to be the best one.
And we've been talking about that Flyer, Momo, Control, Jeskai frame of things. Like, we're not necessarily saying any of these decks are the right deck or best deck, but she goes around. She likes to bring things back from your graveyard, and so this helps fuel your ramp, your draw, get you there.
You like Pursue the Past, discard your Gwen Stacy. You've got Charter Course as well in Standard, because lol, it was in Foundations. So if you're doing this, like, say you're doing like Jeskai Oculus, right? This card's perfect for that, because you gain a little bit of life.
Yeah.
You can flash it back later on. You've got that and Charter Course. You can reasonably get stuff into your graveyard. You still get to play Fear of Missing Out. Yeah, you don't get to play Proseidetic Memory. That one was too much. But it's not bad.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. And Strixhaven is littered with all of these enablers. And
that's the thing, isn't it? Is we're not looking at any of this and going, oh my God, this is busted. This is the greatest thing we could be doing. Deceit with Superior Spider-Man is beyond broken and is going to be a problem. We should pre-ban it. I can't believe Wizards have done this. We're not seeing anything like that as much. We're just seeing a lot of role players, which that's exciting. I like that. when we have so many sets in standard, if they absolutely must leave standard at the size it was. I was sending you screenshots in the week, Dave, of
Yeah,
I was
I'll stick them
watching
up here now. Yeah,
I was watching some prof videos, and it's 10,500 new unique cards printed since September 2020. Total releases in that time, it was 27 standard sets, 8 jumpstart sets, 16 premium sets, 110 commander precons, and roughly 400 secret layers. Before that time, there was about 740 new cards a year. Now there's 1,922. That is a big old increase. So I'd rather have sets like this. Nothing seems busted. There's a lot of power nestled in common, uncommon, maybe some of the rares. Mythics, if you're going to play them, there's no Badgermole Cup. There's no
Wanchidong.
Well, at least not that we can see. We could very well be wrong. There could be, I haven't looked at the set possibly as intently as I should have. I know we're at the point in the podcast where only our most committed of listeners are still here. And if you are still here, we love you.
We'll send you a sticker. Right, the new stickers are here.
You're the ones that are giving us the watch hours. You're the ones that are pushing us towards monetization of this and channel memberships and all that good stuff, which means me and Dave can spend more time doing this and less time doing actual work, so we can bring you more content and better content. I have been not super focused on Magic for the last week and a half. I have had a hell of a lot of personal life stress. I mentioned it last week where I just haven't really had as much time to look at Magic as I normally do. And at the same time, there's a league coming out on RuneScape on Wednesday. So that's going to take up a lot of my time as well. So being able to juggle preparing for modern RCQ season, standard spotlight, Prague, and also play the RuneScape League, it's going to take a lot of time. And
got a hell of a lot going on right now. That's as they say.
I'm quite lucky my partner plays RuneScape as well, because it means I'm not exactly completely ignoring her if I'm playing leagues, because I can go, oh, look, we're doing these things together. But I've got a Modo League open on my second screen. So that might be where we end up. But I love sets like this where you're looking at it and you're like, oh, the Dawning Archaic, the 10 mana 7/7 reach, costs 1 less for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard. When it attacks, you can cast an instant and sorcery for free from your graveyard. Does Lessons play that? Probably not. Would I be shocked if it ended up playing it? Nah, not really.
Someone might play it as a one-off and then be
you cast that fucking thing for like 3 mana, and then because your Lessons, they've sided out all their removal that doesn't hit exactly Grand. So they've still got Requiting Hex, but they don't have their like catch-all removal. And then it's like, cool, I've got a 7/7 that's going to cast Ancestral Recall every single time it attacks. This is bigger than Emeritus of Ideation, and it's drawing me more cards. So, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe there's a Converge deck that there's a lot of good ramp pieces in Standard. Maybe we play all the Converge spells and we're playing ramp, and in that case, you wouldn't be playing the Paradigm thing, because casting Converge spells without paying their mana cost isn't very good. I learned that from my Bring to Light. I learned that from my Bring to Light days in Modern. But it's just a lot of interesting cards. And like there's a 2 mana Ennis Debate Moderator, that's the one, where it's a 2 mana 1/1 that flickers a thing, and then it has the Soul Herder text of if something was put into exile this turn, put a 1/1 counter on it. Yeah, Soul Herder flickered every single turn, but it was also 3 mana, and that was really powerful in Modern, and it was a Horizons card. So maybe we play that thing as well. It's like Charming Prince, but better, and all of these things. But it's nothing like, oh, this is just strictly better. This just outmodes everything else. We got to play with it, and you got to play Magic, and that's why we're doing this, right? Is we all want to play Magic, and we all want to learn and get better and see if we can break it.
So regardless of your format, coming this week is your pre-releases in your local LGS. Regardless if you listen to this as a Magic, as a pauper, modern, standard player, it's a great time to get down. Remember, you are new too as well at some point. So if you want more people getting their decks out with you, then you just need to get out there and be part of this experience as well. We'll be there at our own local LGSs, doing this and playing. And also, if you are in the same spot as us, looking to get your standard wheels reared and ready to go on the roll up to London, come join us in the Discord. This week we're going to be looking to stick some rolls together so that those of you who are like really looking to have that in-depth chat and preparation, we want to work as the get your deck out homies. We're going to make sure that we're all in a good spot when we go into London so that we can someone who we know can come home with the dub. We can get them the yellow deck box and basically say, together, we all made this happen. We'll see you next week when Strixhaven will hit the floors. If you are free on Friday, I will be streaming the early access on Modo in the day. So I've got a few people lined up to go and play with because I'm just not working for a day for a change. So we'd love to see you all there. So that's the Twitch is in the description. So come along and there'll be some standard, there'll be some modern, and just a load of games and things, like trying out these new cards and being involved with the new set. See you there. Enjoy your week, and school starts on Friday.
Boo. Stay in school, kids.
No, don't. Like, just go and get an apprenticeship and make some money. Jeez. Student loans suck.
Yeah, and also, like, apprenticeships are kind of going away, but that's partly to do with the rise of AI, with governments not really doing as much as they should to cover it off. But I'm going to riff a little bit, as I normally do, and for the second week in a row, I'm actually going to talk about RuneScape because something absolutely insane happened. If anyone,
whilst we were on the pod, or just in general?
No, not while we're on the pod. Just literally like 20 minutes before we started recording. For anyone that plays RuneScape, they will understand how stupid this is, but I will try and explain it to you in basic mathematics. I am routinely dry on like everything, where I will go over the drop rate for literally everything. Like, you need Zenite shards for really good jewelry in the game, which makes your combat better. They're 1 in 300. It took me 1,500 kills to get my second one. So yeah, I should have had 5. I have had 2. There is a boss in the game called a Raxor. It drops pieces of a weapon called the Noxious Halberd, which is a very good weapon. It's 1 in 200 to drop a single piece on each kill. Would you like to know how many kills it took me to complete my Noxious Halberd? So 1 out of 200 drops.
Oh, I bet you were at least in the 4 figures.
So you'd reckon like 1,000, like slightly.
Like
so
1,
if I said
100,
the term for getting it significantly below rate is being spooned. If I say I was spooned beyond belief, how many kills do you think it took?
Oh, you were closer to 2,500 then?
No, I was spooned, so I got it well below rate.
Well below rate? 100?
5.
No way!
5. There we are.
Luckiest man in RuneScape.
Thank you. Today, yes.
Thank you, YouTube Shorts. Good to see you. This is a Magic the Gathering podcast where we just made the shorts of RuneScape. See you in the week, everyone. Come join the Discord.
Bye, love you.